right, great.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing good. How's Bear?
He's good. We survived the fireworks on the 4th of July.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Does he not like him either?
He didn't seem scared, just like overstimulated.
Ah, sure. As per his usual.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, my dogs hate the fireworks, so it's it. 4th of July is not a favorite holiday of mine.
No, we usually aren't here, so it was a unique experience for us too.
Sure.
So butter.
I see you're in the yard.
Yes, we are. We're out in the backyard.
Okay.
And I know there was a couple of things we had talked about, like, issues when he kind of goes and runs up on the fence and barks at the neighbors. We've been being better
Sure.
about having the collar on every time we're out here. So that's been helpful.
What have you seen? What's his behavior been like with the collar on? Like, did you see a change just with having the collar on, or were you as his normal self and you had to address him?
So he's always a little bit better with the collar on. And we just like he'll do the bear. So like, see, I just said his name and he came running over. So because he has the collar on, I didn't even have to say come. But it's not that he won't come when we call him when he has the collar off. He definitely doesn't come on the first try.
Right. Yeah. And when you call him without the collar on, is that like inside the house, out in the yard type stuff?
Yeah, it might be just like we forgot to put it on. He ran out the door. Or another one, and I can show you my living room at the front window when he's going nuts, because a squirrel's out there, a bird flew by or something. That's another one where we usually don't have the collar on him because he's just in the house hanging out, and that's really hard to get him to calm down.
I'm making notes here. I'm going to send you an email.
Okay.
For you, so when it comes to, like, let's say barking out the window, for example, and I get this all the time, is, they'll say, Jesse, my dog barks at the window. I call them, and they either take a long time to respond, or they don't respond, right? Or if they do respond, they go right back to barking at the window after they're done.
Right.
And I tell them, because the come command is simply obedience. Get over here, right? But what you're wanting is, don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to send you a couple of videos that give you a means of correcting Bear without the need of an e-collar or inside the home barking at the window type stuff. Okay. Outside, the e-collar is always your most effective tool, because he's even closer to the stimulus than he would be at the window.
Right.
So the front window thing, is there anything in the house similar to that kind of behavior of barking at the front window that you're wanting to address?
No, I mean, the other one would just be when people come in, he jumps, but we have noticed, and I don't know if it's just because we haven't had visitors, but he's wary of strangers now. Like he does that growling, like he'll do like like real low, like he's suspicious. And he never used to do that before. So I don't know if it's because people aren't coming around anymore.
Yes. So quarantine has created a host of issues. I actually there's another client who's, they did a consultation and they said their dog, they're usually completely fine, pre-quarantine. And then just like in this past couple of weeks, they started having people come over again. And all of a sudden the dog's being very anxious and like very wary. And I told him it's because you went 3.5 months of nobody.
Right.
And, like it makes sense. In the context of how many times you've had someone come over and he's given this behavior, has it been like 100%, 60%, 20%?
It's 100%, but he does. I mean, so like if if it's a kid that comes over, it seems like it goes away a little bit quicker, you know, like they're just hanging out and maybe less threatening. But like, let's say that friend's dad comes over. I mean, he's just nuts then, right? He's growling and we have to, you know, take him in the house, and that never used to be the case. It used to be that he would jump and want to say hi. So
what I would do here is, if you know at 5:30 you have a guest coming over, 5 o'clock, have them collared up.
okay.
So you have two situations. You have your dog and you have your guest. They ring the doorbell, sets off bear, right? And then people will do the, like, let me hold my dog back and open the door. And you don't want to do that because you can actually amplify the behavior.
Okay.
What you would do, and I have a video that I can send you that I recorded. That I can send you to get a better explanation. But you would come to the front door. You wouldn't say anything to bear. No obedience, no sit, no down, no stay, no place, nothing. And you're going to turn to face bear, and you're going to start tapping on the remote and going up until you see bear run away from the door.
Oh, okay.
I don't care where he goes. Now, it works best if you have a visual. So when a person enters your home, is it into like the living room or a hallway?
Yeah. 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 It's like, well, we have a little vestibule in the front of the house, but then it's a living room.
Okay. So is it like a small room then into a bigger room?
Yeah. Yeah. But he usually isn't in that vestibule part. So he wouldn't see them till the living room.
Gotcha. So what I would do is, you know, you turn to face them, and like, let's say he's in the living room, but not approaching the door, then simply face them so that he sees you. Okay. And you're going to tap and you're going to go up until you see him either move away. He might jump on the couch or something. I don't know what he does, but what you're looking for is that he calms down. Okay. Once you see that, go to approach your door, but listen for bear. Okay. And when you go to open it, sometimes that'll reset the dog and they'll want to charge again. I close the door, go back, face bear, start remoting at the number you were at, send him back again. Okay. So what you're telling them is, yes, we know it's been a long time. Yes, there's somebody here. You don't need to worry about it. Okay.
Okay.
So that should de-escalate the suspicion. When your guest comes in, and there's usually several steps. There's the door knock or doorbell. There's grabbing the doorknob. There's opening the door. There's seeing the guest and the guest coming in. Okay. Some dogs will trigger for every one of those instances. So you're constantly closing the door to address him. But every time you do so, you calm him down more and more.
Okay.
So you're controlling bear first before you work with your guest. Okay. And if you want to make it easier for your guests, what I suggest is, if like one of the kids goes out and then, you know, with a friend and comes back, instead of just coming in, ring the doorbell.
Yeah.
And you can use that to your advantage. Or if you step out, you know, you can have your husband do the same thing, because you're just trying to get the practice in. And it makes the application in a organic scenario of, oh, we have a guest coming over, much easier. Okay.
Is it hard because, you know, usually when we do the collar, we want him to come to us, right? Or something like that.
Yes. So you see a little bit of confusion. Okay. Because he's going to think come to you, but that's why here you're just going to face him. And if anything, you move to him.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you've ever seen, like, or maybe with bear, like you call him and he runs away, and when you try to go get him, they run away even more.
Yeah.
Right? It's natural response. So if anything, you just turn to face him, you're stationary. And if he looks like he doesn't get it, you know, I'm bumping the number. At some point, he's got to figure out, what do I do? Right? So moving towards him is to confront him, to push him back. Okay.
Okay.
And the video I'll send you is going to help give you a good visual, because it's essentially, it's a dog. It was a German Shepherd that would bite people coming in the home. Okay. And it's the same exercise, except that dog was more escalated in terms of behavior. Right. Okay? But the approach is the same. Don't worry about stay or any obedient stuff. And then when your guest finally comes in, have them ignore bear.
Okay.
Because then people come and go, hey, buddy, remember me?
Yes,
right?
totally.
Like, whoa, like, we haven't seen each other in months, right? So it's easier for you if they just ignore them or ignore bear. And if anything, give bear space. And you might start to see him kind of like get curious and like sniff the air, maybe get up slowly and go like, do I know you? Again, just ignore him completely, okay? Until you might find he smells them and he goes, oh, I know that scent.
And he jumps.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, in this case, because typically we wouldn't want jumping, you're trying to rebuild trust. So then I ignore it if possible.
Okay. Okay.
Until you see like, oh, now he's at his normal self and he's not suspicious anymore, then we put rules on the jumping.
Okay.
Okay. If you're trying to get that to happen faster, if you don't really care so much about the suspicion and you just want to shut it down, but you don't want them to jump on people, you can do both. It's going to take longer for him to come around with the friendliness again.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm making notes here, so I'll send you the video so you have a good visual. And then feel free to send me an email if you're struggling with it. And then maybe we can try doing it over a Zoom or something.
Okay. Okay.
Questions?
So should I do the same? Like sometimes we'll have somebody come, like our side fence here. Like a lot of people aren't coming in our house still. They might just come to our fence. I do the same thing. Maybe just have, like if someone's like, hey, I'm here, right? They don't want to walk in. They won't walk in our gate. But should I do the same thing? Just kind of.
Is he outside with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
How's his behavior in that context? Is it
better? He'll go running up there like a nut, barking like a crazy person. Like he's very territorial around our house.
It would be the same approach. Okay.
Okay.
You know, if he's really neurotic with the barking, I wouldn't have you confront him. You would walk behind him and give about 4 to 5 feet of space and start remoting and bumping it until you see him back away from the fence, and then you come around to face him.
Okay. Okay.
So use your judgment. If he looks too escalated, the only concern, and this is super, super rare, okay, is that if you're in front of him while he's barking and you put the collar really high, the dog will redirect and they'll nip at you or bite you. Okay.
Oh, okay, okay. You don't want to be in front of him if he does that. Yeah.
So if he's super intense, I do it from behind first, get him to back off and calm down a little bit, and then I walk around to face him, and then do what I mentioned.
To get back up.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So you're removing yourself from the strike zone. Typically, when I've seen that behavior, it's with cases where the dogs were already biting the owner.
Oh, yeah. He's never done that.
Yeah. I do it as a precaution just because I know he's very, the dog is territorial and stimulated, and then we're higher up that it might happen. So.
Okay. Okay.
Other questions?
No, I don't think so. I mean, yeah, we're just, just the barking when people are in places he doesn't want them to be, I guess, is the only issue that we're really having.
What does that look like?
Just like, like at our front, I mean, I can show you in our front.
Yeah.
Come here. Bear, come on. So usually, if it's just that he wants to be outside, because like maybe my kids are out there, he usually is just crying, like that whimpering. But let me turn the camera around and I can show you. There we go. Sorry, I'm on my daughter's phone, so I don't know. So this is our front room, and like there's my son. That window shade is always open, and he usually sits there and watches life go by. But like, if a tree or leaf blows or a bird comes, what he does is he jumps and punches that window so hard he can move the couch away from the wall. Like he's very aggressive in how he reacts and responds, but it could literally be a bird, you know?
Sure. So the videos that I'm going to send you, I don't think we've ever spoken about it, but have I talked to you about what's called a bonker?
No.
Okay. So a bonker is very simple. It's simply a rolled up towel.
Okay.
Okay? And you use hair bands or rubber bands to keep its shape. And I recommend that people make several of them, at least 3, 5 if you have it. And you literally use it to bonk the dog. Okay. Whether you whack them with it or you can throw it if you're across the room. It's a rolled up towel, so it's firm but soft,
right.
One thing is dogs don't like things coming at them.
Yeah.
Right. So with the e-collar, what makes it effective is that it's a negative or it's uncomfortable. That nobody likes being in an uncomfortable situation. They want to remove the pressure. So the bonker is a momentary use of pressure, and if he's barking at the window, I personally, and there's nuances to this, if you do not want the barking, period, okay, you would just correct it. You wouldn't say quiet, you wouldn't say no bark or shut up or anything like that. You simply just correct it. So then Bear thinks, when I bark out this window, this thing comes flying at me, and every time I try to go back, it keeps coming back. I don't like that. So then he starts to think, well, what happens if I don't bark out the window?
Okay.
Nothing, right?
Yeah.
If you do not want to eliminate it because there's a form of security there, you would then want to use a cue prior to the correction.
Okay.
Right? So quiet, shut up, no bark, whatever your cue is, make sure it's consistent amongst everybody. And you say it one time. If you have the collar on him, right, you can use the e-collar. If you don't have the e-collar, you can use the bonker.
Okay.
You would say, the moment he barks, let's say like you want to see what he's barking at, right? And you go and look and go like, oh, it's just the neighbor's kid, quiet, right?
Yeah.
Immediately after you issue the word quiet, you would then follow through with an immediate correction. Okay. So if you're not ready, if you don't have your bonker, let him bark, go get it first, then come back, issue quiet, and then correct.
Okay.
And correct firmly. So if you say quiet and give him a little boop, his intensity, you're not going to cut through. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're wanting to empower that word immediately. So my preference is always for things like that. I do the word with a very firm correction to empower it immediately. Okay. So then if you're doing this consistently, the word quiet now has meaning.
Okay.
Well, like growing up, if my mom said, Jesse, don't do that, it just meant Jesse, don't do that.
Right.
Until I got spanked the first time.
Yeah.
Right. Then Jesse, don't do that had a totally different meaning. Right. Don't do that or you'll get spanked. And for humans, we can delay the correction because we have foresight and we know what's we can imagine what's going to happen, right? Dogs don't, so it has to be immediate. So whenever he does something, I'd rather him get away with it momentarily while I get my tool before I say anything, okay? Because the moment you say quiet and then you go to grab the bonker and come back, he's like, well, then I have a 15-second time frame. Right? And you're wanting him to think when I hear quiet, it means just quiet, like immediately. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I say to make, at least 3 to 5 because in some cases the dogs will think it's a toy.
Yeah.
Look at it, right? Like, oh, what's this? They'll pick it up and they'll like start walking around with it, right? So then I bonk them again, firmer. Yeah. Right? And keep repeating until you make it not a game.
Okay.
Right? So like, again, by example, there came a point when I was growing as a young boy where my mom spanking me wasn't as effective.
Right, like you were bigger than her, right?
I'd laugh. And so my mom was like, oh, you think it's funny, right? And she's like, I'm going to keep spanking you until it's not funny. Mm-hmm. Right? Because eventually we get sore. Right? I look at it the same way as if I bonk him and he's like, oh, toy, and he just starts picking it up and playing like it's a game. I'm like, all right, boom, 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 and I just keep cycling through him until he's like, holy crap, this is not fun.
Okay.
And once you've gotten that point across, typically if you do a real good job on the first go, like it's not going to be anywhere. Like he's going to know, like when he sees that thing, he's like, no, mom's not playing, then this is serious. Okay?
Right. Okay.
When you do these corrections, you know, the only issue I have with physical corrections is that because we're humans, we tend to express frustration through physicality, right? Is that when you know you don't want him to do something, immediately disagree with it. Do not wait and hope that he makes the good choice.
Right.
Okay, so like people will think like, oh, like my guest is gonna come over. I hope my dog's a good dog and doesn't jump on him. I go, no, right? And then they're frustrated because then the dog's jumping on the gas and they're like, no, stop it. And then they're yelling, right? And all that stuff. And then they're forceful. I'm like, assume your dog's gonna jump and already be ready. And the moment I see that thought, boom, right there.
Right.
That's what's gonna do it, right? You save yourself a lot of heartache and you save your dog a lot of frustration.
Right.
So I always suggest that people make a list of the things that they want to stop. Okay. Jumping, you know, growling at the front door, barking out the window, counter surfing, you know, whatever your rules may be, being on the couch. Like, I don't care about the dog being on the couch, but if I get clients that do, I go,
yeah, we don't care.
The moment you see your dog thinking about making that decision, that's when you want to correct, ideally. Okay. So like, let's say, you hear a neighbor and you hear them pushing a stroller and you know it's just a neighbor with the stroller and you see Bear look right there, quiet, boom, right? Like you're not even letting them get to the front window.
Okay. Okay.
And so, because there's a security aspect, but then there's the aspect of, you know, what's threatening and not threatening.
Right. Right.
So he doesn't, he just assumes everything's outside the threat, right? He's doing his job. So it is possible for a dog to decipher what they can and can't bark at.
Okay.
So like I've had clients that they're like, I don't like my dog barking at kids, you know, in front of our house, and I don't like them barking at people with strollers and other dogs, right? But if someone comes on our lawn, I want my dog to bark.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you can do that. You know, you just always correct for those other instances.
And
right?
not the right.
Correct, right? And he will learn to recognize children I don't bark at, strollers I don't bark at, dogs I don't bark at, you know, but oh, someone's coming on my steps, I bark.
Yeah.
Right? It just takes consistency. It usually takes people quite a while because of course you have your kids, you have your family, you know.
Right. It's hard to stay on. Yeah.
So, you know, don't be discouraged if like it's not overnight, because consistency is a huge factor when it comes to these things. But you know, those are things that you can do with Bear. It just takes time.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. And appropriate corrections. The other problem with physicality or physical corrections is that people feel like they're hitting their dog.
Yeah.
And they have a kind of psychological hump over physically correcting their dog because of that they think abuse, or they think I'm hurting, or they think I'm hitting, right? So that's why I advise people, like, don't even use the bonker outside, because then you have judgment of people.
Yeah.
You know, e-collar removes that because you can do physicality and they don't even know what's
They
going on.
don't know, right? Right.
So when it comes to physical corrections, they're perfectly healthy. Of course, it's where it's coming from, you know.
Right.
And any tool can be misused, an abusive tool, but that's not the intention here. Okay.
Right.
The intent is, of course, to discipline and teach Bear what you don't want him to do, so that he's a better dog within your household. So in the videos I'll send you, there's 3 of them: how to make one, how to use one, and a trainer actively using a bonker.
Okay.
Watch him. It's a puppy. It's like a little boxer puppy, and he's just being a brat, wanting treats. And when you see the gentleman whack the puppy, it's very firm and it's very firm, right? But if you look at his energy, he's very neutral. Okay, so it's harsh correction but neutral human. Okay, and that's the important aspect, because people just see harshness, but really what creates issues with dogs is emotion.
Okay.
Yelling, screaming.
Right.
Force, you know, things like that. So, with me, if you ever see me correct the dog physically, I'm always neutral.
Flat. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even when we work there, technically with the e-collar, we've went into harsh level like 70s, 80s, but you were neutral,
Yeah.
right? So that's the most important thing. So watching those videos will help kind of clarify how the bonker works, but it's very simple. And don't worry about where you whack them. It's a rolled up towel,
Yeah. Yeah.
upside the head, on the butt. If you just throw it at them, just be careful if you have lamps or anything like that.
Right. Right.
And when you do your correction, what you're looking for is a shift in behavior. Okay, so if he's barking at the window and you throw the bonker and he's like bark, 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 clearly it was ineffective. Maybe because you missed him, the intensity wasn't there.
Right.
He's not really familiar with it. He's like, what the hell is that? Whatever, I'm gonna just keep doing this. So then I come in firmer and firmer until eventually you get a good correction in, and maybe he yelps. But after he yelps, he walks away from the window and like sits in the corner and he just looks around like, what was all that about? Right?
Yeah.
I was processing. I don't praise for that because it's expected that he just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like if my mom said like, don't touch my things, it was just don't touch my things.
Right.
It wasn't like 5 hours later, Jesse, did you touch my things? No, Mom, good job.
Right. Or you get a treat. Right.
Yeah. We don't do it with ourselves. So I'm not sure why people think they have to do it with their dogs. So when it comes to behavior, it's simply just don't do it.
Right. Right. Yeah. Especially certain things. Right.
Correct. With the obedience stuff, that's different. Because he has to learn a skill. When it comes to behavior, it's super simple. It's just aversive to stop what you're not wanting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Questions about that?
No, I don't think so. I think we can, that I feel like if we have a couple around the house, it's mostly going to be at the front window anyway. So just have a couple up here. My kids, at least my girls could do it and probably get a reaction from him. So
Yeah.
I don't know if my son could do it hard, but.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how old are the girls again?
I have a 15-year-old and then my middle one's almost 12.
Okay, yeah, pretty good age. You might find with the younger one, hesitancy.
Yeah.
Right. And so then I'm not a parent, but it's that conversation of educating between discipline and then abuse.
Yeah.
Because she's probably gonna feel bad. Like I have another client right now with a puppy, and they have very young children. I think the oldest is like maybe 11 or 12, and they would even feel bad when the parents would like even just scold the puppy, right? And then finally, just this past week, the puppy actually bit the youngest child, and the puppy's only 3 months, and it was because she was trying to take a bone from him.
Yeah.
And then I told them, the mom and dad, of course, already was understanding.
Yeah.
Things because I told them about the bonker and all that, but they're like, "How are we supposed to do that with our kids? Our kids are going to argue with us." I'm like, "Well, I mean, you're mom and dad,
Right.
so there's no argument there." But it's like, look, what we're doing here to you, you perceive it this way, but it's not. Like, this is how dogs operate. And finally, the youngest learned that lesson firsthand and realized, oh, like even though it's just a puppy, they're still capable of biting.
Right. Right.
Which kind of then opened them up to the realm of now we understand why physicality is necessary in rearing a dog.
Right. Right. Well, and now my dog's 70 pounds and could really hurt somebody, so they understand that they could hurt a neighbor, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he can be intimidating. And I get dogs that are barking just out of friendliness, but people don't know how to read it, and then they're scared.
Yeah. He usually doesn't, to be honest. He's not like a general barker. Even when we like go by other dogs, sometimes they're going nuts and he's just looking at them like, what, but it's really like a territorial thing. So it's really when we're at home that he goes crazy, but so he's not really a barker. So when he's happy, he's jumpy and, you know.
Yeah. And, you know, territorial behavior is healthy, you know, except like for you know, if you look out your window and you see your neighbors, like it's nothing, right? But then if you saw like a suspicious character breaking into a window, you'd call your husband, like, hey, call 911.
Yeah.
For that, right? And bears in the world of anything outside our home and outside mom and dad and then outside of my sisters and brother is suspicious.
Right.
You know, so you're just having to kind of clarify for him to get him to live or coexist in our world, that certain things
are okay. Yeah. It's
so,
okay.
and if you were to notice a decline in his behavior in terms of territorialness, because that can happen because now you're putting rules to things, is you can always build it back up. Okay, because it's super rare for it to happen with the dog's like, well, crap, I'm being corrected for being me. Do I really want to keep doing it? So then I start to add in what's that, right? Like
yeah,
or if he kind of like grumbles or like good boy, right? And then praise them, and then I build him up a little bit, but then I go quiet, right? So he's going, oh, like I can bark. I just
yeah.
stay quiet.
Right. Okay. Yeah,
So
because we do want him to be the watchdog. You know, we do like that about him, and I do anyway. So
yeah, dogs are the best form of security.
right.
Yeah, like I would take a dog, even a Chihuahua or a tiny 3-pound teacup dog over a security system any day.
Yeah, because they'll pick somebody else's house is what I'm hoping. Right?
And it's funny because they did a study years ago, and they said that even like little small dogs are deterrents. One, because they'll bark at any little thing, right?
Right.
But also the person coming in doesn't want to risk being bit.
Yeah. Right. They're afraid of being bit.
They don't want to get bit.
Right.
So yeah, I'm all for it. So let me know if that does happen. I can help you build it back up. Anything else behavior-wise, and the jumping too, you can correct with Bonker inside the home.
Okay.
So like, let's say your kids come home and he's jumping on them. Like, you know, you could have a couple of Bonkers right there by the entrance, and they could just pick it up and bop them with it. You know. And I don't say off or stop or no or sit or anything like that. I just correct them. So the gentleman that you're going to watch correct the puppy has a saying where he says it's more important to teach a dog what not to do than it is what to do.
Okay.
So jumping, for example, a lot of people tell me, Jesse, my dog jumps on people. They need to learn to sit. And I go, or you just teach them not to jump.
Right.
Because the sit is now an extra step.
Right. And we don't need him to sit. We just need, he could stand there. It's fine. Right.
I don't care if the dog says hi and walks around me and sniffs me and all that stuff, as long as they're not jumping on me.
Right.
So, or like sometimes dogs get overexcited. They start to nibble at your hands and stuff like that. Boom. Same thing, right? Like, I don't care if you're happy to see me. I like it, but don't put your mouth on me. Don't nibble on me. Don't jump on me. Don't put your paws on me. And we're good. Okay. So just think of the things that you don't like, and then make sure everybody's on the same page and correct them.
Okay.
Questions?
Nope. I think we'll have to make the boppers. I think that's a good one.
Yeah. And the videos will help you understand a lot more. Trying to think here. How's his obedience going?
It's going good. We probably haven't been practicing the like go to your place enough. I feel like right after we learned it, we did it, and he was doing it at home. Like, but then I don't think we've practiced it enough.
Yeah.
And him staying in that spot it hasn't been. I guess we have to keep building that up, right? So.
Yeah, and you can use. Like, we cheat the system here when we do it with our dogs, because my facility has columns and we have a tether around the column. So once we teach the skill, we just put the dog in place and we clip them to the tether. So they try to get up multiple times a day, but since they're tethered, they can't go anywhere, and we can just remote them until they hop back on.
Right.
And across the facility working with another dog.
Okay.
So like if you have something like the old school racing or a very heavy couch that you can tether him to, that makes that part easier. Um, uh, Otherwise, it's really leaving them with the leash on and then nearby so that if you have to correct them, it's not so tedious, because if you put them across the room, then you're constantly walking across the room.
Right.
To build the duration aspect of it, you do have to practice it.
Yeah.
And everybody's life looks different. You know, maybe you're not using it because it's not really that useful for you, right? Then I go, yeah, right, I don't care. You know, because it's really just stopping the stuff. Like, you know, because I think we spoke about using it in the yard.
Right. Right.
As a preventative. But it doesn't mean you don't have an answer, because, like, you know, if he barks at the fence, you just pop him on the collar.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's really the I don't want you to do that as opposed to do this instead.
Right.
Okay? And which also reminds me, if you want to empower the word of quiet faster with the e-collar, I do it at a higher level. So like, let's say he's in the yard, I have the e-collar on, I might already be at 100, 127. And the moment I see him charging or about to charge, I go quiet, pop, 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 3 times, very high. So now quiet is tied to 3 very high level corrections.
Okay.
That should you forget to put the collar on him, you know, after a couple weeks of doing that, and you say quiet, his brain's just going to register 127, and he's going to run back to you.
Well, that's kind of how I felt, like the come command, for whatever reason, that stuck with him. He's very good about it. Even, really honestly, even if I forget to put the collar on him, or he's in the house and he doesn't have the collar and I want him to come, he seems so much better at that than, you know, like go to your place or whatever. It seemed like that one stuck with him. I don't know why.
Well, to make the times that you don't have the collar on them, because a very common complaint that I get is, Jesse, my dog will come outside, no problem, but in the house they won't.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, did you practice in the house? Well, no. The dog doesn't transfer. Okay. So I would take advantage of the time that you do collar him. And every time you call him from the yard, I'd already have it a little bit higher, 80, 95. And then, you know, bear come, and it'll make what you have even better.
Good. Okay.
And you can do it when you remember it. You know,
yeah.
Chances that you forget it, it's still pretty well practiced and empowered that you're going to have an even better response.
Okay. Okay.
Anything else?
No, I don't think so. Mm-mm.
So I'll get you the emails on the Bonker and then the door video. And then I would say give it a couple of weeks or longer if needed to practice these things, so that in a couple of weeks, because I believe you still have one more Zoom session.
Yeah.
So if in a couple of weeks, if everything's going great, then I would just save it. Otherwise, a couple of weeks gives you time to practice and apply things.
Yeah.
I think the hardest one would be, of course, people coming over. I'm not, you know, if people come over all the time, obviously you'll know. Otherwise, if you don't, I mean, you can use a Zoom session whenever, like it's not going to expire.
Okay.
Okay. So take your time, because I'd rather you take time to practice and see what's working and not working, or what you need help with, before we actually use that session.
Okay, that's perfect. That's a good idea. And then we can wait and see, like, as people come over more, if they come over more, if that ever happens in our life, then then if something shows up that wasn't there before, I can let you know. We can work, you know, have a plan.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, awesome.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.